All right, we're going to review ratios. So ratios just compare two different things. So for example, I can compare the number of stars I have to the number of hearts. Okay, so I have 3 stars and I have 2 hearts. I can write this a couple different ways. I can write it with a colon in between, so that would be 3 to 2. I can write it with the word 2 in the middle, or I can write it as a fraction. Now, if you're writing it as a fraction, even though I can simplify this to mixed number, I'm not going to, because it still shows me that I have 3 to every 2. Okay. Now, you can use ratios to solve problems. So, for example, if I have 3 stars to 4 hearts, if I had, let's say, 15 stars, then how many hearts would I have? All right, so we are going to set up a ratio, which is still 3 to 2. I like to do it as fractions. I just feel like it's easier to see it, because especially since we are going to be solving, which means we are going to set up something called a proportion, which, remember, is a fraction equaling another fraction. So remember that the 3 here dealt with the stars, the 2 dealt with hearts. When I set up my other fraction, I need to make sure the things are in line. So I was given 15 stars, so that is going to go on the top where the stars were. And then I am looking for the number of hearts. Okay, so once I have my proportions set up, I am going to cross multiply. So 3 times x is just 3x. I'm going to multiply the other direction, and I'm going to get 30. Again, I'm going to set those things equal to each other, and it does not actually matter which number is on which side, because it's going to solve the same way. Now, our goal is to get this x here by itself. Since x is being multiplied by 3, we're going to do the inverse of that and divide both sides by 3 to get that x is 10. So meaning, if I were to scale this up, I would get 15 stars would give me 10 hearts. So all of the stars and hearts and all that are really cute. A lot of the things that we use proportions for are finding percentages. So remember, a percent, the actual word percent means per 100. Okay, so we can actually set up a proportion that looks like this. So part of something compared to the whole thing is going to equal the percentage of that out of 100. All right, so for example, let's say I had something like there are 12 girls in a class of 25. Okay, I want to figure out what percentage is girls. All right, so I'm going to set up my proportion. So the girls are part of the whole class of 25, and that's going to give me some percentage that I'm looking for over 100. And just like we did with the stars and the hearts, we're going to cross multiply. So I'm going to get 25x when I cross multiply this way. When I cross multiply the other way, I'm going to get 1200. And remember that the 25 and x are being multiplied, so I'm going to end up dividing both sides by 25 in order to get my variable by itself, which will give me 48. So what this means is 48% of this class is girls. Now we can use this to solve for other pieces. So let's say I had, if the class has 30 kids, and let's say I only have 12% of boys. How many boys are there? All right, so we're going to set up our proportion. So remember, one of my proportions is always the percentage. I have a percent of 12%, and that percentage is always going to be over 100 because percent means per 100. Then the 30 I have here is this part of the class or the whole class. Well, it's the whole class. I'm looking for what part of the class is boys. And then again, I'm going to cross multiply. I'm going to get 100x. When I multiply this way, I'm going to get 360. All right, and then I am going to divide. So when I divide, I'm going to get 3.6. Now the thing is, I can't have 0.6 of a person. Okay, so this would actually just be 3 boys. Okay, and the reason is because we can't have partial. Okay, we don't have enough to get up to the next number. Okay, so depending on the context, you can't have decimal sometimes. Okay, and that's all right. That's perfectly fine. All right, so last one. If 10 girls is 42% of the whole class, then how many people are in the whole class? So we're going to set up our proportion. We have 42%. Remember, the percent is always over 100. So the 10 is that part or the whole group. It's part of it. We are looking for the whole group. Again, we are going to cross multiply. So I'm going to get 42x is equal to 1,000. So that when I go to divide to get my x by itself, I'm going to get that x is a really long decimal. I'm just going to give a couple decimal places just so you can see it. Now, it's asking how many people are in the whole class. If I have 23.81, I can actually only have 23 whole people. So there are 23 in the class.